Hi guys, welcome back to another installment of Professor Charles' Slam. And today we're gonna talk about this movie Archive. Yes, starring Theo James and Stacey Martin. Like I said, man, this movie. When you look for a sci-fi movie, if you're not looking for an action movie, this is not going to be it for you. I'm sorry. This is a sci-fi thriller. One thing I like about this film, like literally, Theo James plays this guy named Jonathan that's trying to bring his wife back from the dead. Kind of puts your mind of the Keanu Reeves movie Replica a bit that came out a few years back. And I gotta say, it's a different plot twist. I will say that. At least there's some action in it. But if you're not into action movies, this will not be for you. In this movie, Jonathan is a person that creates robots and helping to really bring his wife back. One thing we learned about Jonathan, uh, throughout this movie, when I watched it, you kind of understood like this movie wasn't gonna be like, yeah, bang bang, shoot 'em up, but it was more like you had to figure out, like, put the puzzle pieces together. The director is the same person that did Black Mass that Johnny Depp was in. I don't know any other films he's done. I think that was a real well thought of film. It's a crime film, so if you're into like gangster mafia type of stuff, it's a different type too. It's not like your typical thing, but with this, Jonathan is trying to bring his wife back, and what we learn in this movie is. Throughout this, we see his daily life pretty much, building robots. He has two robots. And in this film, they differ from one another. So you have Prototype 1, Prototype 2. And Prototype 1 is like baby infant type of thing because that's a part of his wife's other part of her brain. Like, back when, you're a baby or a kid type of thing and you really don't know how to distinguish things. So it's kind of like, come hug me or come see about me. Then you have Prototype B. Now, Prototype B is a little bit more rebellious. Yes, I said rebellious. But we can understand why Prototype B is. Prototype B is a little bit more, it has a little bit more of a thought process compared to Prototype A. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. And in the film, we see a contrast between the two. Prototype 1 is kind of like I said, it needs, affection or a reassurance and how to do things. And what we see with Prototype B has a mind of her own because that's a part of the wife too, the other part of her brain. I guess digitalized because she is an archive in the film. And we see that. Also, that was worse with this film as flashbacks. Sometimes you'll watch a film and flashbacks don't really work. The flashbacks worked because we learned about what happened to Jonathan Jules, which is his wife. That's this AI inside this big old archive-like database. What led to the car accident? There are sequences throughout the film. They don't show it right away, back to back to back to back. It's like, okay, you have certain scenes, then flashback, certain scenes, flashback. And it really works. Sometimes with films that doesn't really work and you're just like, what the deuces am I watching? And we also learn about Jules, how she was when she was alive. Jules was a little bit insecure. Also, she was dying from something. That's what it seemed like. It kind of like I paid attention watching it again. I'm like, yeah, maybe Jules has something going on with her too before this other thing came up along. She really loved her husband. We saw that she cared about Jonathan. Also, we see, like I said, Jonathan being dedicated to bringing her back. Like, he's coming to have a phone call with her casually. And, that was very interesting. I wish they would have focused a little bit more on how the phone call thing, like how that came to be. I would have loved to see that personally. But I can understand why, because she's inside this archive. This is the only way he can actually talk to his digitalized version of his wife. But also, we see Jonathan come up with another version of the two robots. The third version. Yes, you heard it here. The third version of the robot is the complete version. It has a full brain. It has memories. One thing I love about the third version kept getting flashbacks from the wife, like her actual memory. And it was interesting because the data, all the memories was stored inside of that one compared to the other two. You know what? The villain in this film, there are two villains in this film. Yes, I said it's two villains. One of the villains is Robot 2, Prototype 2. And the reason why Prototype 2 was kind of like, the villain in a sense, like she wasn't like she didn't have like hey, I'm the villain for this. Prototype 2 grew envious when Jonathan came out with the third robots. And then can you understand him? Yeah, he was more focused, he was more dedicated, he was replacing parts and everything. Whereas Prototype 2 was just like, hey, look, I'm sitting here and you working on this, and I remember we used to do things together, you know what I'm saying? And you could see the jealousy kind of like spill out a little bit. And the robot like, oh, you think you gonna just leave me here and not do nothing with me? Oh, I got you. And I love the scene where the dog, where Prototype 2 leaves the dog inside like the little what do you call it? Laboratory that they're in, that he's creating these robots. And I said to myself, I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm like, you getting a little mad. But one thing that shocked me about this film, Robot 2 kind of said, screw life. Yes, Robot 2 was just like, yeah, it was fun while it was knowing you, Jonathan. But by the way, screw your life, bruh. And I'm going to go kill myself. And Robot 2 did it in a sense where you see her contemplating, you know what I'm saying? Like she's near this like lake or whatever it is, or you know what I'm saying, or big form of water. And you see her step in and then she kind of like hesitates. Then she goes all the way in. I said, I was like, yep, it's going to be a problem. And we can see Jonathan kind of being the concerned, like creator of it. Like, bruh, you really weren't paying attention to Robot 2. Robot 2 kind of tried to tell him like, this third one ain't no good. Also, we see a few minor characters in the film. If you're looking for a film where there's not a lot of characters, this is not for you. I'm sorry. I have to keep it real with you guys. Minor characters. Jonathan's boss, Simone. And we noticed that Jonathan broke the golden rule at this job, right? So here's the thing with the golden rule with this. You can create robots, right? But you cannot create a robot with your wife's AI inside of it. And, Simone got furious with Jonathan. And you can understand why. Logically, it's like, hey, you broke the rule. You really, can't be doing that. And you can see the law enforcement, this futuristic law enforcement came where you have this one guy and these like robots that look like the police at the time. And we see that because Jonathan did the unthinkable. Also, he lost Prototype B. But also with the third robot, let's talk about the third robot for a minute. The third robot, like I said, was the complete version. Only thing was it didn't have his wife's mental capacity, I guess I'm gonna say that. But you could tell the robot wanted to feel, touch, make love. It was more like obsessed with Jonathan in a creepy way. I remember Jonathan was in the bed and she comes over, and there's a flashback where him and her playing in the bed as wife. And this one was like, hey, I want to do the same thing, probably because the robot saw that memory where her and Jonathan were like playing and kissing in bed and all that stuff. And Jonathan's like, get out. Get out. I love how he says that. And you're just like, bro, you wanted that, bro. But you ain't get no machine booty. You is not getting no machine booty. I'm sorry. It sounds creepy. Like, nah, I'm glad that movie did not go with him trying to bang the robot. I'm like, please, look, I like sci-fi movies, but banging robots is just not going to be a human banging robot. But also, we see there's a moment of desperation where Jonathan sends his wife's digital AI into the robot, the third version. It didn't work. And this is why it didn't work. It had like a memory overlaps, like an overload. And you can see Robot 3 was just like, your wife is still inside the archive, which she's stored in. Towards this end of this movie, I was like, oh shoot, the real villain was all this time. Because in this movie, I felt like with Jonathan, he was being a little naive. Okay, you can love someone, right? Don't get me wrong, you can love people, but sometimes love can get you killed or you betrayed. So what happens is Jonathan talks to his wife, and the last time she's like, "This will be our last time." I'm like, "Last time?" I'm like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like confused, like, Raggy? And literally, when Jonathan he did the last phone call, and I love that prototype, the full version, Robot 3, was like, "Don't do it, Jonathan, don't answer the phone." Why this fool answer the phone? Whole body got digitalized. I love that scene. Like, the CGI was really dope. And I think that was the only scene where we saw the CGI, and I was like, dang. Like, it reminded me, like, he looked like he was turning into like a video game character, and he went straight into the archive. And I'm just like, and then I love the end where you see the wife and the kid. They left that out. I think that was a little disappointing. It wasn't like, oh man, I wish I knew he had a kid. So he was a family man too, that we found out at the end. The wife and the daughter getting away and hearing like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. And I was like, I looked at the end, I said, people that went to go investigate his wife are the same people that she's working for. Archive, I give this movie a 5 out of 5. It was good. Kept me on the edge of my seat, kind of like thinking what's next going to happen. I love the comparisons between the robots. I think this was a decent story, man. It was different. It wasn't action-packed, which was okay. Some sci-fi movies can work with it not being action-packed. Some need some action. But I enjoyed it. If you guys have not seen Archive, check it out, guys. It's your boy, Professor Charles is live. Have a wonderful Thursday, and I'm out.